Hey, what's up, everybody? The VC here, coming at you once again with another video. And you know, there's always a lot to talk about, all right? And that's what I'm all about, just kind of sharing with you my thoughts on things that I see out there. It's a good way to, talk about things, and in some cases, like let out frustrations, what you really think, and that's what it really is all about. And it's all about just having an open mind and open opinions about things in general. And that's what I welcome here on the VC. So, with that, without further ado, let's just get to it. All right, so let me jump on over to here. So, some things that have gone on these last few days, of course, obviously the wildfire. And we'll touch on that today. I'm not going to go in depth of that today. I'm going to be focusing on other topics all in one video here, and but I'll touch on the fire just to see where progress is at. So we'll take a look at that in terms of containment. Let's see. Critical threat of new fire ends, but crews are still working. All right, cool. I just want to know what the containment is right now when it comes to the latest. And Washington Post is pretty good about keeping things up to date, so let me refresh that, update it. Alright, so Wednesday's come and gone when it came to that high winds. And I know that there's been another death found, another dead one found. Trying to see what's the latest here. Here we go. Maybe this one. Alright, we'll go here. Close this one out. Alright, so yeah, now there's at least 25 people. So they found one more. Then the last couple of days it was at 24. Governor executive order aims to fast track temporary housing with permits, right? No, I'm just kidding. You know how it is. They want permits for everything here in California. You gotta go through permits there with the Coastal Commission. Last 24 hours has seen little to no fire growth. That's good. And they're up to 22% containment. That's good to know. So up to 22% containment now. So it went up 3%. That threat of the high winds went down, so that's good too. Auto fires at 85%. That was in Ventura County. Eaton fires at 55%. So that's where things stand. The big focus, I know it's been on the big two fires, but primarily the Palisades fire, because it hit, the wealthier, higher income area of LA, right? So that's where that is. Whereas the Eaton fire is kind of up in the higher elevation area of the hills and all that. And then, of course, Ventura County had their own fire that was started, and they got that one pretty much contained pretty quickly, so that was good. So that's what the map is looking like. The Hearst fire, the Eaton fire, the Hearst fire. I think that one's pretty much almost completely contained, right? Yeah, 98% now for the Hearst fire. So that threat is good because over this hill, mountain, there's a lot of people out here too. So that's good to see. This is huge over here. All right, so I just wanted to cover that. Besides fast track of housing, um, worst natural disaster. We covered this. And one thing I wanted to point out is that they're already envisioning LA 2.0 between him and Karen Bass. And it's like, wow, they've already moved on. It's like, man, how about just, focus on at present, worry about 2.0 later on. It's like They're already talking about reimagining LA, and it's like, come on, man. We have other fish to fry and worry about right now. So that was the numbnut interview that they did here that I covered earlier this week. All right, so we have that, and yeah. So and then touching on that whole reservoir thing. I know I covered that when it first came to be. I was like, damn, no water in the reservoir, right? And then they wondered why they had no pressure, right? We had no pressure coming out of the fire. Duh, because there's no water. And then come to find out that that thing has been offline for nearly a year with no work going on. And when you find out it's just a cover that had a slit in it or something like that, which only takes like a week to do. And think about that. If it only takes like a week, shit, give it a month. If it only takes a month to do and it hasn't been touched in a year, that tells you that they got problems, all right? And that's how slow California is in general. But I love how Gavin Newsom in this particular interview was like talking about how his reservoirs were full, and then we're like, well, what about the Palisades one? Oh, that's not a state reservoir. That's a city reservoir. That's a city thing. So always, that's what Democrats do. They always like to, shove blame to everybody else but themselves, which is funny as hell. But that makes them trash too. All right, so now that I've covered a little bit about the fire, not so much today because there's a lot to talk about, right? Joe Biden had his farewell address to the nation. I'm not going to play 17 minutes of it, but I want to cut straight to, like just the gist of it here. And so, let me see here.
Los Angeles.
She's a eye pleaser right there. Check her out, Gabriella Power. Yeah, little eye pleaser. Let's see here. Gavin Newsom's 50 million deal on an example of far left liberal policies further ruining. The 50 million is part of this whole Trump proofing California, so that's what that is. But I'm not trying to look for that. Shit, man, where's it at? Let's go over here. I think it's over here. Yeah, so there was like a farewell speech, right? So I'm gonna see if I can find something here that gives us some sort of coverage of that without going and playing all 17 minutes of it. So I'm gonna try to find that right now. Hold on, let me refresh this thing. It seems like I can't find nothing today. All of a sudden, let me go over here. This is very interesting. We'll come back to this one. I always like to hear what Scott Jennings has to say about things because he keeps it 100 and in their faces, because he's in a little hot spot when you think about it, right? He's in a room full of Democrats and he's the only Republican voice for CNN there, so it's just interesting how Scott Jennings just battles through it. This Newsom's radically incompetent. Yeah, that's true. Let's see here, man. Where's some condensed? I was just looking at it too. I don't know why I can't find any sort of condensed info all of a sudden. Let's see here. Biden farewell. There we go. See, it's like I don't know. It's just weird. I don't want to cover all like 16, 17, 18, 19 minutes of it. Just want to cover like the gist of it. And they usually cover a pretty good gist of what it is. So let's just see. All right, let's see what Hannity has to say here about this. All right, let's check it out.
And welcome to Hannity. And tonight we are T-minus 5 days until Donald J. Trump is sworn into office. But tonight, big things, are already underway. Here at home, Donald Trump's cabinet nominees, they are demonstrating a very high level of competence and integrity at their Senate confirmation hearings. Also coming up tonight, we will show you how Donald Trump's pick for AG, Pam Bondi, literally flipped the script on the congenital liar Adam Schiff. It was a moment. If you missed it, you missed a lot. Also tonight, a major accomplishment for the president-elect overseas. This is really big news and good news. We're going to bring you the details of the Middle East peace deal that was reached with Donald Trump, getting it across the finish line. Why? By strength, by fear that he instilled in foreign adversaries, and they know he means what he says. But first, I don't know any other way to put it, just a pathetic farewell address from a frankly pathetic career politician filled with delusion of success and petty political attacks. What you just heard tonight, and the typical mumbling, bumbling, and stumbling as usual, every cliche imaginable, false hope for the next president to do so well.
Yeah, he was very good in detail of every little stumble, fumble, shuffling, descriptive of all his gaffes. You know, it was pretty funny with Hannity.
After really doing nothing but sabotage Donald Trump before he gets into office, a corrupt family, a weaponized DOJ that has caused massive harm to our justice system. In the end, a sad, pathetic, angry man that you decide, what did he accomplish? Ask yourself. He failed to mention that we are now on, by the way, preemptive pardon watch, as the president now reportedly considering get-out-of-jail-free cards for his brother, for Anthony Fauci, for Liz Cheney,
I'd be wrong
for Benny Thompson,
if he did all that,
and a whole list of others, maybe even himself. He also failed to mention his greatest legacy, and that is the millions upon millions and millions of unvetted illegal immigrants that poured into this country, including violent criminals, murderers, rapists, gang members, cartel members, and known terrorists. We don't know where they are. We know that they are here. This is what Joe is leaving behind for Donald J. Trump. And by the way, mark my words, the greatest legacy of Joe Biden will be these unvetted illegal immigrants, the crimes they commit, and the possible terror attacks on our homeland. Instead, in tonight's, quote, farewell address, we got more class warfare against a handful of billionaires, oligarchs, as he's calling them, who don't support him. His family had no problem taking a lot of money from a Russian oligarch, the former First Lady of Moscow, or dealing with wealthy companies in Ukraine and China. I didn't mention that part either.
The wealthy elites of Hollywood. I mean, you name them. I mean, that's just what it is.
And, of course, then he gave a dire warning about...
And then when you have notable, wealthy people that, left the party, right? And that's when all of a sudden he has a problem.
The left's favorite boogeyman, climate change, the biggest existential threat to our country, and a call for more censorship online after it was Joe Biden himself who coerced big tech into censoring the facts about COVID-19, along with the truth about the very real laptop of his son, Hunter. And that real story, that was Winkin' Tony Blinken that tried to cover it up, organizing a letter with 51 former intelligence officials supposedly debunking the story as Russian disinformation to give him a talking point before a debate. And meanwhile, not one of those people ever one time saw that laptop or knew a thing about the laptop. This was a typical Biden speech. It was disorganized. It was mumbling. It was uninspiring, riddled with visions of grandeur about himself, along with doom and gloom about political rivals. You decide.
My farewell address tonight, I want to warn the country of some things that give me great concern. This is a dangerous concentration, and that's the dangerous concentration of power in the hands of a very few ultra-wealthy people. And the dangerous consequences if their abuse of power is left unchecked. Today,
like him,
an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy.
It's funny how deflective and reflective they are about really themselves, because that's exactly what they've been running on this whole time with his puppet presidency. And he's describing exactly what was going on with him.
Right now, the existential threat of climate change has never been clearer. Just look across the country, from California to North Carolina. That's why I signed the most significant climate and clean energy law ever. The powerful forces
Fucked everybody up.
want to
That's what it
wield
is.
their unchecked influence to eliminate the steps we've taken to tackle the climate crisis, to serve their own interests.
Fuck the climate
For
crisis,
power
man.
and
There's no
profit.
crisis.
Americans are being buried under an
Yeah.
avalanche of misinformation and disinformation,
Being buried under his
enabling the
inflation.
abuse of power. The free press is crumbling. Editors are disappearing.
No, free press is coming back.
Social media is giving up on fact-checking. The truth is smothered by
Giving
lies,
up on censorship.
told for power and for profit. We need to amend the Constitution to make clear that no president is immune from crimes that he or she commits while in office.
Oh, so he's talking about himself, right?
It was his administration, his DOJ, that was pressuring big tech to tell a lot of those lies. You can't make that part up. Now, ultimately, Biden's 5 decades in the Washington
outta here,
swamp
man.
were never about service or making this a better place, always about himself and his own personal gain. The results, they speak for himself.
And his party
So tonight,
gain.
look, forget about what I think. Ask yourself. Every American needs to ask themselves tonight, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Can you identify one policy that he implemented that improved your life? Economically, everything you buy in every store you go to costs more. Interest rates are higher. You're paying about $1.50 more a gallon for gasoline. Are you better off? Are you more safe and more secure both here at home and abroad? After nearly 50 years of working for government, Biden, he owns multi-million-dollar mansions. He goes on lavish vacations. He's worth reportedly millions of dollars with most of his career. He made $200,000 or less. And people will always call him Mr. President. That's fine. At the same time, Americans, most Americans I know, and the polls
Corrupt.
show this and
Quietly
confirm this,
corrupt.
are far worse off, especially the middle class that he claims to have a monopoly of compassion on. Joe Biden didn't seem to care less. For him, it's his mission accomplished moment. Meanwhile, the incoming administration is already, they're hitting the ground running. This is an amazing phenomenon we are witnessing before our eyes. Real successes for you, the American people. This is real safety and security abroad. Breaking today, a ceasefire deal in Gaza. That means freedom for 33 hostages, hopefully more, a plan for a lasting peace. Just 1 week after Donald J. Trump delivered this warning. Take a look.
If those hostages aren't back, I don't want to hurt your negotiation. If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East. And it will not be good for Hamas, and it will not be good, frankly, for anyone. All hell will break out. I don't have to say anymore, but that's what it is. And they should have given them back a long time. They should have never taken them. There should have never been the attack of October 7th. People forget that.
Today would not have happened were it not for that moment. Donald Trump, he didn't just warn the terrorists of Hamas and their friends in the Middle East. He took action. The president-elect, he sent a delegation, you saw Steve Witkoff in that video, to the region to negotiate a deal. A deal has been struck. According to Arab leaders, Donald Trump made more progress in one meeting than Joe Biden did all year. Top Qatari officials now said Trump and his envoy pushed this deal over the finish line, and they thanked Trump for his leadership. Take a look.
You, as you say, have been working on this deal for many months. And the question is, why now? Why this moment? And was it pressure from the incoming Trump administration that got it over the line? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Hilda, for this question. Actually, we've been raising the question of the right moment for the entire period since the collapse of the first phase. But we have seen a momentum that started to build in the last month, and we kept pushing for that, working together very closely with our partners. And I can say that what we have seen from the U.S. in the past few days, seeing a collaboration transcending both administration was a clear demonstration for the commitment of the U.S. to reach to that deal. And I really would like to thank both the envoys who are here with us.
Instead of being happy, back at the White House, Joe Biden was seething. One day, of course, after forgetting how to sign his name on a bill during a bill signing ceremony, the frankly petty, incompetent current president tried to take full credit for the plea deal he announced about 2 hours after Donald Trump. Take a look.
What a joke.
Credit for this, Mr. President, you or Trump?
Is that a joke? Oh, thank you.
No, that would be Donald Trump made this happen, not him. That's the joke.
Yeah,
anyway, Joe
he's a
Biden,
joke.
maybe he should circle back to his own State Department. They thanked Donald Trump earlier today in case he missed it.
When it comes to the involvement of President-elect Trump's team, it has been absolutely critical in getting this deal over the line. I will just say, lastly, I don't know if it's unprecedented to have envoys from an outgoing and an incoming administration sitting at the same table negotiating a ceasefire agreement of this kind. But if it's not unprecedented, it's certainly unusual. And
yeah, it is. It does set a
we, of
precedent.
course, thank the Trump team for working with on this ceasefire agreement. I think it's important that they were at the table.
You know, it's interesting because it was Donald Trump that sent his envoy on his own dime to the Middle East to relay the message that all hell would break loose if, in fact, they didn't get this deal done.
It's impressive.
And as we look back on the 4 years of Joe Biden's presidency, do you think he was qualified for this job? Were we right when we warned before the 2020 election that he was not cognitively strong enough for the job? Again, that's a decision you, the American people, will have to make.
Yes, everybody's harping on this whole Pam Bondi, Adam Schiff, how she torched the shit out of him.
My name is Harris Heller, and I've been a full-time YouTuber for over 10 years now. And if you are a YouTuber or you're trying...
Putting her through the ringer to become Attorney General, they do this sort of hearing to see if you so-called qualify, and all you got to do is just kind of, stand your ground, speak, and don't fall for the bullshit, and then you get voted in, which she should have no problem getting voted in, and then that's that, right? So let's take a look at this real quick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Bondi, as you know, the Supreme Court in Trump versus United States held the president has absolute immunity to commit crimes in certain core areas of the president's responsibility.
He just barely became confirmed to be senator, like for a couple weeks now, because he won the Senate position for California, and so now I think he's just try to throw some weight around, act like he's some big shot now, just because he's a trash piece of shit guy that threw a lot of money to get elected in terms of like advertising and stuff like that. To beat Steve Garvey in California.
One of those core areas is the Justice Department. So in a breathtakingly dangerous and irresponsible decision, Justice Roberts and the majority held the president could commit crimes using the Department of Justice and be immune from prosecution. Justice Sotomayor correctly said this new immunity lies about like a loaded weapon. So the fear and the concern we have is that the incoming president will use that loaded weapon, that immunity, to commit crimes through the Department of Justice. And for that reason, it is all the more important that we have an Attorney General who has the independence, the strength, the intestinal fortitude to say no.
So you're talking about the current Attorney General, what's his name, Garrick, right? Garrick, whatever his name is, right? That tried to weaponize DOJ against Trump, that guy? What's his name, Garrick Merlin, whatever, that guy? She's replacing him. So yeah, no.
When it is necessary. So my first set of questions has to do whether you have the independence to say no when you must say no. And you can say this is
hypothetical. This line in the question was bullshit, too. I was listening through it, and I'm just like, man, this guy's so full of shit, man.
Hypothetical, but it is not hypothetical. So let me start with one very specific non-hypothetical. The president has said Jack Smith should go to jail. Will you investigate Jack Smith?
Senator, I haven't seen the file. I haven't seen the investigation. I haven't looked at anything. It would be irresponsible of me to make a commitment regarding anything without you're a long practicing attorney without looking at a file.
So you would need a factual predicate to open an investigation of Jack Smith, is that right?
Not a summary by you sitting here. Yes, sir.
And not a summary by the president either, right?
Absolutely.
So
a summary by the president
deranged.
or his desire to investigate Jack Smith would not be enough for you to open an investigation.
Of course not, you moron.
I will look at the facts
Fucking
and
moron.
evidence in any case. You know,
and sitting here today,
Senator, 72% of Americans
please, I only have
have
7
lost
minutes.
faith in the Department of Justice.
Sitting here today, are you aware of any factual predicate to investigate Jack Smith? Sitting here today, yes or no?
Senator, I will look at the facts and the circumstances.
You can't answer that question.
Brought to me.
You're not a
She's
part
answering
of
the question.
yet.
You
There's
fuck.
no worry about divulging
I'm sitting
law
here as a
enforcement
nominee.
sensitive information. So just tell us.
I'm
Are
sitting
you
here as
aware?
a nominee.
Just tell us. Are you aware of a factual predicate to investigate Jack Smith? Yes or no?
Senator, what I'm hearing on the news
Are
is
you
horrible.
aware of a?
Do I know if he committed a crime? I have not looked
You seem reluctant to answer a simple question. Let me ask you a different simple question. The president also wants to jail Liz Cheney. Sitting here today, are you aware of any factual basis to investigate Liz Cheney? Yes or no?
Senator, that's a hypothetical, and I'm not going to answer that question.
No, it's not hypothetical. I'm asking you, sitting here today, whether you are aware of a factual predicate to investigate Liz Cheney.
Senator, no one
Based
has
on what
asked
you
me
know.
to investigate Liz Cheney. That is a
The
hypothetical.
president has called for it publicly. You are aware of that, aren't you?
Yeah, but no one's asked for
No
her.
one has asked me to investigate
But the president
Liz.
has
We're
called,
also worried about Liz Cheney,
the
Senator.
president has
you know what
called
we
for
should
this.
be worried about?
Ms. Bondi,
The
please
crime rate
answer
in
my
California
questions.
right now
You
is
are
This guy's a
aware-
fucking moron.
Ms. Bondi,
Your robberies are
Get the fuck out of here.
80% higher than the national
my question
average.
is this.
That's what I
My
want to
question
be
is this.
focused on, Senator.
Do you have the
if I'm
power to
confirmed
say
as
no to the
Attorney
president?
General.
And what you're suggesting today by your non-answer is you don't have the independence to say no to the president. So let me ask you a different question.
I'd be like,
Also
now you're putting
requires
words in
you,
my mouth, you fuck.
if you're going to be a good attorney general, to be able to tell hard truths to the president. So my questions now are, can you tell hard truths to the president? So let me start with an easy truth that you could speak to the president. Can you tell us, can you tell him that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election? Can you say that?
Say that.
You have the
Who
independence to
gives
say
a-
that. You have
who
the
gives a fuck?
gravitas, the stature, the
It's
intestinal
5
fortitude
years.
to say, Donald Trump, you lost the 2020 election. Can you tell us that here today?
I'd be
Senator,
like, it's
what
5
I
years
can
ago,
tell you
dude.
is I will
Move
never
on,
play
dude.
Politics. You're trying to engage me in a gotcha. I
No,
won't
I'm just
do it.
Exactly.
I
question.
won't play
If you can
politics
speak truth
with any
to
ongoing
power. So let me ask you
investigation,
another.
like you did
let me-
leaking your
let me ask
colleague
you-
Devin Nunes's memo.
If you can't answer the question, let me ask you a different, what should be a simple truth, not a hard one. Was there massive fraud affecting the result of the 2020 election? Yes or no?
Senator, I'm glad you asked that question. If you'll let me answer what I saw in Pennsylvania.
No, I asked a simple question about massive fraud.
I can only tell you what I saw in Pennsylvania.
I know you want to answer a different question, but my question is, can you tell us whether there was massive fraud affecting the results of the 2020 election? Yes or no?
I'd be like,
Was
let's
there
hear
or
it.
was
I
there
can tell you what I saw when I went
That's
as an
not my,
advocate
that's
to
not
the
my
campaign.
question. So you can't answer that question. You can't speak that even easy truth to us, let alone to the president. So let me ask you a different question. It will also be important that you give good advice to the president. Are you prepared to advise the president not to pardon people who beat police officers?
How about the outgoing president pardoning corrupt people? How about that? Or people that's on death row that belongs to death row? How about that? I shoot that back.
Senator, as I said, the pardons are at the direction of the president. We will look and we will advise. I will look at every case on a case.
so
Let me finish. On a case-by-case basis.
Okay, good.
And I abhor violence to police officers.
Follow up with that. So will it be your advice to the president? Mr. President, I know you said you want to issue hundreds of pardons on day one. Will it be your advice to the president? No, Mr. President, I need to go over them on a case-by-case basis. Do not issue blanket pardons. Will that be your advice to the president?
But then they're going to get blanket preemptive pardons? Come on.
Senator, I have not looked at any of those files. If confirmed, I will look at the files
and
for
will
the
you be able to
pardons, as well
will
as
you
the
be able to
ongoing
review
investigation.
hundreds of cases on day one?
I will look at every file I am asked to look at.
Of course you won't. So will you advise the president?
Can I answer the question?
Well, my question
I would have plenty of staff. You said, of course you want.
You'll be able to review
Listen,
hundreds
I'm
of
not going to
cases on the first day?
mislead this body nor you.
All right, let me ask another question. You don't want to answer that. Let me ask
You were
another question.
censured by Congress, Senator, for comments just like this that are so reckless.
It will also be important for you to be able to preserve the records, the evidence of the department. Are you ready to commit that none of the evidence in the January 6th investigation will be destroyed under your watch?
Senator, I will follow the law. I will consult with ethical officials in the
Do
department.
you see any ethical basis to destroy evidence in the January 6th investigation? Then why can't you answer the question? Why can't you say, I commit to this committee, we will never destroy the evidence in the January 6th investigation? Why can't you give this committee and the American people that assurance?
Are you frightened because evidence was destroyed against President Trump that was false? Is that why you're frightened now? I can't believe this is even...
Why do you have difficulty answering that question?
I can't believe you're asking such a question.
Why do you have difficulty promising to preserve evidence at the Department of Justice? Why is that a...
Dude was all over the place, man, trying to get her on gotcha stuff. Yeah, fuck all that. All right? So, yeah, Adam Schiff's a piece of shit. And you dummies in California voted for him. So, other news here, Amazon back to 5-day work week. Starting this year in 2025. And you know what's funny? Getting back to the things that are supposed to be, so that's one thing here. They are, this whole trend is happening where, big business, big corporations want their employees back in the office 5 days a week. All right, because before that, I know there's technology these days that you could go and do like work at home and things like that, and I think it's gotten too out of hand, and I can see why these big corporations and such are looking to really rein all that in, because they paid a lot of money for all their office space and all that, unless they sell the office space. But and at the same time, if anything, I think a good compromise is, instead of doing a 5-day work week, I think a good compromise would be like a hybrid schedule. Maybe show up maybe 2 days a week, and then stagger the employees. Like a Monday, Tuesday, and then some will come in, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that kind of thing. Just stagger it. So that way, not all have to come in the office 5 days, You stagger them, hybrid schedule-wise. And, of course, you have different shifts, right? Unless it's just all one shift, doesn't matter, whatever. But I think a good way to do it is just a hybrid schedule. That way, you don't have to come 5 days, but it's a compromise. And, I think it's a good way to go with that, because it kind of meets both ways for people. It gives something for people to look up to, forward to, instead of a dreaded 5 days a week, So that's just my thoughts on that. And then lastly, I wanted to talk about, Starbucks' newest news with this whole open door policy. They changed their open door policy, so basically forever, pretty much, you come in, you can just go sit and take advantage of their Wi-Fi, and internet access, right? But now, what they decided is that they changed their open door policy to where if you're in, even if you need to use the bathroom, you got to buy something, which to me makes sense, right? You're patronizing, or you're a patronage to a business, and it would do a benefit to the business if you were to purchase something, if you're using their services anyway, such as the internet or just to sit there and study. I mean, what's so wrong about buying a cup of coffee or a frappuccino or something, just so you could utilize their services, So I think it's fine. Yeah, I know it sucks about the bathroom stuff, but a lot of businesses do bathrooms with the, customers only type of thing. So I don't see this thing as anything different to me. I just think that it's just one of those things that, it's just, hey, you know what?
What exciting
it's
benefits
just
do you get
the
as
cost
a
of doing
Hertz
business,
Gold
right?
Plus
You get to skip the line and go right to your car.
In
other headlines,
you want to have anything to do with, hey, I got to use the bathroom, or you want to sit around. All right, well, you're a customer, you got to buy something. I mean, it makes sense, right? It's not like a gas station, or some establishment where you could just go and use the bathroom and walk out. I mean, that's not the purpose of Starbucks anyways, so it makes sense to me.
This morning, you'll probably notice this the next time you go to Starbucks. If you just step in just to hang out or to work but not buy anything, you might get a tap on the shoulder.
What if I just want to use the bathroom? Really quick, in and out. There's a change.
Yeah.
Apparently, you can't do that. Crown 4's Will Tran has been following that live this morning from Walnut Creek. Hi, Will.
That open door policy slamming shut. It lasted for 7 years where you can go to the bathroom and didn't have to buy anything. No code necessary, but you might have to ask for a code moving forward. Remember those days? Because Starbucks, they're saying moving forward, if you spend a lot of time in there, well, you're going to have to buy something. And if you go to the bathroom, same deal. You'll have to buy something.
A lot of businesses are like that.
They say this is for the betterment of their coffee community. They call themselves America's Coffee House. And they say, you know what? That 2018 policy, it's run its course, which, by the way, began in a spectacular way. It started in Philadelphia when two African-American men, they were waiting for a business partner. They didn't buy anything, waiting for the partner. Then they were told to leave. They protested, and then officers actually got involved. Racial overtones, fairness, a lot of those things were discussed, and that's why they had the open door policy. But now you will have to buy something. It doesn't have to be coffee. It could be one of their pastries. But the bottom line is Starbucks gets money, and you get access to the bathroom. Got a chance to talk to some customers.
Yeah, they just don't want people hanging out and using the internet and all that. I mean, to me, it makes sense. There's lots of places that do that. I don't see how this thing is any other. So it was a woke thing that started this. I thought this was been an ongoing thing forever anyways. But they barely started this open door policy in 2018. To me, it was just a woke move, and they're getting away from being woke in that instance, all right? And businesses do that all the time, so I don't see this being any different.
Here's their reaction to it. Hey, let me play Starbucks, their version. They might say, well, Michelle, toilet paper costs money, water costs money, and we're going to have to charge you. What do you say to that?
They make enough money on their coffee. Come on. That's, I mean, I'm a Starbucks customer. I have the app and I use their stars and the whole bit, but
Starbucks, well, they say that they're not actually leading the charge. They're going with the current that other restaurants, they've been doing that for quite some time, charging their customers the access to the bathroom. So they're just doing that as well. And they're working with their employees on how to handle it. Could be the gentle tap on the shoulder, could be calling police officers. So that open door policy, it's run its course.
I don't know why they're making a big deal of this. I mean, like I said, there's tons of businesses that have been doing that forever where, hey, if you want to use whatever, you got to buy something. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the big deal is. Anyhow, that's just my thoughts on everything. I just wanted to share that with you guys. The fire is still going on. The outgoing president, it's been a terrible 4 years. Good thing he's finally gone, just a couple more days. To Amazon 5-day work week, I think, I mean, to me, they should do a hybrid. I think hybrid should be the new trend, but what do I know? And then lastly, the Starbucks thing. again. It's not a big deal. Businesses do it all the time. All right, that's enough for me. Comment down below, subscribe to the bell icon, and we'll talk again. See you tomorrow.